Hey, this is Dan from Ramblin' Ambition, and we're another day working on the van. So one of the things that's always challenging with the van is to make sure that everything inside of it is secure. And while the factory locks do their job, I always wanted something a little bit extra. So in the old van, I put one of these lock systems on the back, and the purpose of that was to ensure that I could put things in the back of the van, and no matter whether or not they got in through the front or got in through the sliding door, they weren't going to get the stuff in the garage area. And so I wanted something like that, but I wanted a better system, and this is what I found. So Thunderbolt makes an M1 lock kit, and its design is basically a deadbolt for your van. It works with the factory door locks. At least the kit that I got works with the factory door locks. So you unlock it and lock it, but it also allows for the Mercedes anti-theft devices to work. So if somebody breaks a window in the van to get in, and they try and unlock the doors, the Thunderbolt locks will not unlock. And so there is no other way to get into the van. And to me, I thought that was a great solution. It's hidden away, and it's just a nice, clean setup. So if this is something you're interested in, please stick around for the video. So in the M1 kit, there is a locking mechanism for the rear door, and then there's a locking mechanism for the sliding door. And so we get two of these boxes, wiring harness kits for each one, the deadbolts, all the mounting plates, rivets, and everything else that you need to install it. So the first step, we took the door card off, and we have to figure out where to mount that box, and then how to locate where the deadbolt needs to come out. The instructions are, halfway decent, but they're not great. But what they do provide is some templates that you can put on the doors to make sure that you know where to drill. So on the sliding doors, or the back door, you're going to have a deadbolt come out here, and it's going to mount to the surface here. And we'll go through what that install is like. The sliding door is the same way. You have to take the door card off, figure a place to mount it. And then there's also a manual release for each one, so that you can manually release that lock if something goes wrong. On the rear door, that's going to go up here. On the sliding door, it's going to go up next to the lock on that side. So yeah, let's get to it. All right, so we got everything mounted. So they provide some mounting screws, and we just drilled two holes the same diameter, 6 inches apart, for the base. Cleaned up the metal, put some white paint in it, and then up top you drill a 3/8 inch hole, and you just feed the cable up, put the nut on, and then screw the handle back on, and that's for the manual action release. So we've coiled this cable in place, and what we got to do now is locate where to drill the main hole for the locking mechanism, and it's going to go down here. So they provide us with a template, and that uses a factory bolt hole to align this whole piece. So we're going to cut that out real quick, place it on the door, and the lock should look just like that. All right, we got the template cut out, and it's going to line up with this bolt right here. And so you can see how it follows that contour. Then we're going to take a center punch and just punch right in the center of that hole. And that'll make our mark so that we can drill. So we drill the pilot hole, and then we got to use a 7/8 inch stepped drill bit to make that hole bigger. All right, so we got that hole drilled out to 7/8, and then now we're going to take the deadbolt, and I'm going to show you We're going to slide it in and then mark 2 holes where we got to drill out for the rivets. So they supply rivets for you to go ahead and mount that in, and so we'll go ahead and drill those holes out and get right to it. All right, so the next step is to set the length of the deadbolt. And what they ask you to do is close the doors and measure the distance between the 2 doors where the deadbolt will be. In our case, it's 1.5 inches. Then it says subtract 1/8 of an inch from that, and then that's the depth that you want to set your deadbolt at. So for us, what that means is we're going to set the deadbolt out to 1 3/8 inches. And there are 2 set screws. And so what we're going to do is we're going to feed the cable through, and then we're going to use an Allen wrench to set the set screws so that the bolt goes out 1 3/8 inches. Now that we got the bolt set, it ended up being that we needed to set the bolt at 1.25 inches. That way it would clear the raised mounting bracket that's going to go on the other door, so that when it's fully retracted, that it operates the way that it's supposed to. So now we're going to take some rivets that they provided and just install them. All right, so we got the 2 rivets installed, and we're just using an Astro pneumatic handheld riveter. You can get them on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description below for them. It works really good. So now we're going to go ahead and figure out where to mark the bolt. And so you can see we're testing it just to make sure it activates like it's supposed to. And what we're going to do is we're going to shut the door, and they provided some marking compound to stick on the end of the bolt, and then that's going to mark exactly where the other plate needs to go. All right, so we got the raised latch put in, and we've tested everything to make sure all the clearances fit, and so we started wiring things. And so I use these Wagyu lever nuts, and basically you pick up the lever and slide the wire in, and it allows you to combine a bunch of wires together without doing splices. It's a really nice, secure connection. So Thunderbolt gives you a green wire and a blue wire. And Mercedes vans, their lock mechanism uses a blue and a black wire and a blue and a brown wire. And so the blue and the black wire get connected to the blue wire, and the blue and the brown wire get connected to the green wire. And that's going to allow you to make sure that the vehicle, the lock locks and unlocks with the vehicle. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here's the harness that goes to the lock, and all we did was pull it apart, and then we found the blue and the black and the blue and the brown and just cut them, and then we put them into the lever nuts. So the blue and the black go with the blue wire, and the blue and the brown go with the green wire, and that allows us to lock and unlock with the key. All right, we got everything straight. All right, so that works pretty slick. The installation is pretty straightforward. You do have to be kind of careful because the inside, so the driver's side door, that piece is kind of, it's got a slant to it. So you really got to be careful where that piece is. So measure before you drill those holes and make sure everything's straight. So that's the rear door. So we're going to be moving to the side doors. All right, the side door is a little more tricky. You have to pretty much figure out where you want to mount the pin first. So there's another template that goes right up against the door for that particular thing. So it locates it right off of that first bolt and then along the body line, closest to the left edge of the door. And then you take some marking. I just use a Sharpie, put it on the end of that bolt, and then use that to find out where that needed to be. So we kind of mounted things a little bit differently. So because of this crossbar, we were able to mount the box directly to the crossbar. We used the same lever nuts for that door, and everything works. So the cool part about Mercedes is that if someone were to break a window and you were to unlock the door and then try and push the unlock buttons, none of the doors are going to unlock. So you can try and do it manually and go around to get those doors open, but it's not going to work because it has its own interlock feature. If your van doesn't have that, Thunderbolt Locks does make a lock that has an interlock feature, so that you can disable that function while you're away from the van, so that no one can open those doors. So anyway, I'm pretty happy with it. The installation was a little more complicated than I thought it was. I guess this is the second time this has happened. But overall, I'm happy everything lined up. It works like it's supposed to. We tested it, rolled down the window or locked the van, and then tried to reach through the window and unlock the van, and it didn't work. And so now the one thing about the door that is going to be different is I'm not going to put that manual release where it's visible, because then you can open the door. The one in the back we're going to cover up and you won't be able to see it, so I'm not worried about that. But there's going to be a window in the door, and so I got to think about where I want that manual release. I think I'm just going to hide it back behind the panel and not worry about it. So that's the installation video. I know I didn't do a whole lot in the sliding door because it's really just the same as the rear doors. You just have a different template to match, and then like I said, the only difference is the marking for that. So other than that, it's all the same. Hope you guys got something from the video. Check out Thunderbolt Locks if you're interested. And this is Dan from Rambling Ambition, and we'll see you next time.